Every new season brings the same nagging question: how deep do our troubles really run? It's time to take a hard, honest look at the club. Let's dive into the heartbreak of missed trophies, the carousel of managers, and the frustrating question of why Spurs just can't seem to seize the moment. Buckle up, because we're holding up a mirror to the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Tottenham fans are on top of the world. A thrilling 2-1 victory over Chelsea in the League Cup final sparks dreams of a new era. Jonathan Woodgate's iconic extra-time header is the stuff of legend, a symbol of hope and resurgence. But then the curtain falls. 16 long years later, that glimmer of glory feels like a distant memory, overshadowed by what could have been. It hasn't been for a lack of trying. The dramatic sprint to the 2019 Champions League final still gives fans chills. Remember Lucas Moura's last-second heroics against Ajax in Amsterdam? Pure magic. But the story didn't get its fairy tale ending. A flat performance in Madrid, a 2-0 loss to Liverpool, another chapter of so close yet so far. Then came the 2021 Carabao Cup final, another shot at redemption. Spurs stood toe-to-toe with Man City, the ultimate underdogs refusing to back down. But heartbreak struck in the 82nd minute when Aymeric Laporte's header crushed their dreams. Yet another final, yet another missed chance. To truly understand the frustration, rewind to the glory days. The 1960s under Bill Nicholson were a golden age. Spurs became the first English club to conquer Europe, lifting the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1963, just 2 years after their historic domestic double in 1961. The 1980s weren't too shabby either, back-to-back FA Cups in 81 and 82, followed by a UEFA Cup triumph in 84. Those were the days when Spurs dominated. Now, the contrast couldn't be starker. The once mighty club that routinely lifted trophies now struggles to seize the moment. 8 managers since 2008 have tried to end the drought, but the cabinet remains painfully empty. For the fans, it's a scar that rivals poke at relentlessly, a wound that refuses to heal. Today, Tottenham's once victorious past feels like an old tale whispered around a fire, fading with time. The memories of near misses cut deeper than the defeats themselves. The question looms larger with every passing season. When will Spurs finally rise again? When will their loyal fans taste the sweet joy of victory they've been craving for so long? Tottenham Hotspur's mindset issues are nothing new. They've lingered like an unwelcome guest, frustrating managers, players and fans alike for years. Ange Postecoglou, the latest man in charge, has called out their team's mental fragility as a key reason behind their inconsistency this 2024-25 season. His concern? Spurs' inability to stay composed and committed when it matters most. Take their recent clash with Bournemouth. At the first sign of pressure, Spurs handed control to their opponents. Unopposed headers from set pieces and crumbling in tight games have become all too common, shining a harsh light on the team's delicate side. Postecoglou has made it clear, fixing this mindset problem is one of his toughest challenges. And this isn't the first time Spurs have been called out for their mental block. Former manager Mauricio Pochettino once warned that building the mental resilience of real contenders would take a decade. He pointed to losses like the infamous 2019 defeat to Burnley during a title chase as clear signs of the team's fragility. Those words still haunt the club today as they continue to falter in high-pressure moments. Antonio Conte, another manager brought in to inject a winning mentality, had similar frustrations. After a 3-3 draw against Southampton, where Spurs squandered a secure lead, Conte couldn't hold back. He accused the players of lacking the courage to compete under pressure and failing to take responsibility when it mattered most. He went so far as to label this pattern Tottenham's story, a damning reflection of the club's deeply ingrained struggles. Even Jose Mourinho, never one to mince words, sang a familiar tune during his tenure. He openly criticised the team for lacking resilience and focus when the stakes were high. The Europa League collapse against Dynamo Zagreb under his watch was a perfect example. Spurs fell apart, leaving fans embarrassed and rivals laughing. And it's not just the managers. Longtime club captain Hugo Lloris openly called out the team's lack of basics and fight after the crushing Europa League exit in 2021. His raw, post-match comments reflected a team that struggles to believe in itself during decisive games. It's a problem that seems impossible to crack, no matter who's at the helm. This persistent mental fragility has become a defining feature of Tottenham, a theme that rivals mock and fans endure year after year. Until there's a radical cultural shift, the cycle will continue, leaving the next manager with the same uphill battle. Spurs' story is far from over, but unless they rewrite this chapter, it's one that will remain painfully predictable. Tottenham Hotspur have been on a rollercoaster ride of managerial changes since 2014, each era promising hope but falling short of delivering lasting success. It all started with Mauricio Pochettino, who brought an aggressive, high-energy style that electrified fans and took Spurs to the 2019 Champions League final. Yet despite coming tantalizingly close to glory, the lack of silverware and support from the board saw his tenure end in 2019, sparking fierce debate among fans. Enter Jose Mourinho, the special one brought in to instill a winning mentality, but his cautious defense-heavy approach clashed with Spurs' attacking traditions. While he did steer the team to the Carabao Cup final in 2021, his shock sacking just days before the game left fans stunned and symbolized a club struggling to see the bigger picture. Then came Nuno Espirito Santo, whose brief 4-month stint in 2021 was marked by uninspired performances and a lack of identity on the pitch, leaving supporters frustrated. Antonio Conte's arrival brought a glimmer of hope. His fiery passion and disciplined tactics pushed Spurs to a top 4 finish in 2022, but the honeymoon didn't last. A string of poor results and a scathing press conference where Conte publicly criticized players and ownership led to his dramatic exit in March 2023. The fallout left the club in disarray yet again. Now, under Ange Postecoglou, Tottenham is chasing a fresh start. His attacking, possession-focused style has sparked optimism among fans desperate for stability and success. But the scars of constant upheaval run deep, leaving Spurs without a clear, long-term philosophy or direction. The question remains, can Postecoglou finally break the cycle and guide Tottenham toward the silverware they so desperately crave? Only time will tell. Let's be clear, Tottenham's player choices have been under fire lately, and for good reason. The club seems stuck in a cycle of letting go of stars and failing to replace them effectively. Case in point, Harry Kane. When Spurs said goodbye to their all-time top scorer in 2023 and he took off for Bayern Munich, leaving behind a hole that feels impossible to fill. The club brought in Dominic Solanke as a potential solution, but let's face it, he hasn't lived up to the hype despite his hefty price tag. And it's not just Kane. Big names like Gareth Bale and Kyle Walker, gone. And Tottenham's attempts to plug those gaps, let's just say they've fallen short. They've brought in players like Richarlison and Tanguy Ndombele, who arrived with plenty of buzz but haven't delivered performances worthy of their price tags. It's a recurring theme: big signings, big expectations, and then disappointment. The squad's balance isn't helping matters either. Heading into this season's Europa League campaign, Spurs barely scraped together a 23-man squad that met UEFA's homegrown player requirements. The departures of key players like Harry Kane, Harry Winks, and Oliver Skipp hit harder than anyone expected, exposing glaring issues in the club's long-term planning. Now they're relying on youngsters like Archie Gray and hoping for a resurgence from players like Richarlison, who's still struggling to find his form. And the defense. Tottenham entered the season with glaring gaps at centre-back and defensive midfield. Strengthening those positions was critical, but instead, the club chose financial caution over quality signings. It's a classic Daniel Levy move, balancing the books while fans cry out for reinforcements. And the result? A shoddy defense, overworked first-team players, and a squad that's barely hanging on. This flawed recruitment strategy has left Spurs in a tight spot. Injuries and burnout are piling up, and the lack of squad depth is glaring compared to their Premier League rivals. The big question is whether Tottenham can break this cycle of mismanagement, or if they'll remain the club that promises so much but delivers so little. Time will tell, but for now, the frustrations of fans are louder than ever. Towering over London's skyline since 2019, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has redefined football arenas. This isn't just a home ground. It's a stunning £1.2 billion masterpiece, shaking up the global football scene and putting Spurs in the spotlight. Financially, Spurs are thriving. Each home game generates £6 million, 6 times more than White Hart Lane did. Add in events with megastars like Anthony Joshua, Beyoncé and Lady Gaga, and annual revenues exceed £100 million. Spurs are now among Europe's financial elite. The stadium is also boosting London's economy by £900 million annually, and creating over 3,700 jobs, with 4,300 more expected by 2026. The Northumberland Development Project promises new housing, hotels and leisure facilities, bringing much-needed revitalisation to Tottenham's underprivileged areas. However, this comes at a cost. Season tickets now range from £856 to £2,367, second only to Arsenal, sparking protests with campaigns like #StopExploitingLoyalty. The club is balancing revenue growth with staying true to its fans. Spurs have taken a unique path, blending football with commercial ventures and relying on non-football events to fuel their ambitions. Yet despite the profits, the trophies remain elusive. Critics argue the billion-pound stadium hasn't delivered the success fans crave, leaving some to see it as a flashy distraction from the main goal. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is a bold statement of intent, proof Spurs aim to compete on all fronts. But until it leads to footballing success, some will view it as a missed opportunity. Will it become a springboard for greatness or a symbol of unfulfilled potential? Time will tell. Amid the turbulence at Tottenham Hotspur, a glimmer of hope shines. Ange Postecoglou, a manager with a vision of long-term success that Spurs fans have craved for years. Under his leadership, Tottenham is daring to dream again. Postecoglou is fully committed to the future and is starting to pay off. Take their recent 3-0 win over Elfsborg in the Europa League, highlighted by academy stars Dane Scarlett, Damalo Ajayi and Mikey Moore scoring their first goals. It wasn't just a feel-good moment, it was a statement. Tottenham's future is alive, kicking and scoring. The Aussie manager's belief in his squad is unshakable. This is as low as we've been, he admits, but I still believe we can achieve something special. It's not just talk, it's a rallying cry for a team and fanbase desperate for hope. The Europa League campaign offers a silver lining. Securing a spot in the last 16 gives them time to regroup, refocus and rebuild momentum for bigger challenges ahead. Postecoglou's bold attacking style is a breath of fresh air for fans tired of cautious defensive play. It's not perfect, but it's exciting and that's worth something. The road ahead won't be easy. Injuries, squad depth and financial constraints remain hurdles. But for the first time in a long time, Spurs have a sense of direction. With smart recruitment, trusting young talent, and commitment to Postecoglou's vision, Tottenham might finally break free from their cycle of disappointment. This won't be an overnight transformation. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but every step forward feels like progress. Could this be the year Spurs finally show the world what they're made of? Success depends on how you frame it. Financially, they're thriving and growing, but when it comes to silverware, 16 years without a trophy is a tough pill to swallow for a club of their stature. So what do you think? Could this finally be the season that changes everything? Or will Spurs continue to live in the shadows of the league's giants? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the thrilling world of football.